All right, we just saw a fantastic finish to Super Bowl 57 with the Chiefs defeating the Philadelphia Eagles. And joining me is Chris Lopresti, SNY Contributor, to talk about this. Now, Chris, I thought this was a pretty exciting Super Bowl. What did you make of this game? I know there was some controversy at the end, but what did you think of Super Bowl 57?
Yeah, up until that last penalty that kind of essentially decided the game for the most part, you know, with that little bit of time that was left and it turning into a chip shot field goal for the Chiefs. It was a great game up until that point. Had a little bit of everything, unless you're a fan of top-of-the-line defense. We didn't get so much of that, even though we heard all week long for the last 2 weeks about how great the Eagle defense was. The game pretty much went kind of the way I expected. I thought the Chiefs were going to win a close game. I thought points would be scored. So in this case, you know, Eagles and all their sack records and the pressure they get up front, they got some pressure at times on Mahomes, but 0 sacks. He was still able to make some plays with his legs. The yardage wasn't great in the pass game for the Chiefs, but a couple of key plays going in their direction. Obviously, the Jalen Hurts fumble returned for a touchdown, the Kadarius Toney punt return that set up another score, and I just thought Mahomes in the second half, when he was clearly hurting again with that ankle, getting banged up in the first half, it was for the most part a flawless performance from him, right? Took care of the football, made plays with his legs when he needed to, a couple of big pass plays when they needed to as well. And, you know, the Chiefs eke one out. I would have rather them kept the flag in the pocket there at the end. And that's, so again, someone that picked the Chiefs, and that's had a couple bucks on them as well. You just hate to see a tie game decided that way. I would have liked to see the Eagles get the football back, have a chance to come down and either tie the game with a field goal, potentially win it, or the Chiefs make a stand on defense and win it that way. I understand sort of by letter of the law, it's probably a penalty. And the fact that Mahomes targeted that particular receiver maybe brought a little bit more attention to it. But it's a tough call to make in that spot to essentially hand the Super Bowl win to the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I understand fans and their frustration on that, even though James Bradbury said he did.
Yes, he did.
He
owned up to it.
He owned up to it.
It's a good job out of him.
But we understand the point that you're making, too, and that you want to see the game end in a more exciting fashion there.
From a viewer standpoint.
From a viewer standpoint. Now, we move on from the Super Bowl. We got to talk some Jets and Giants. I'm going to start with the Jets first. What do you think is the major thing this team needs to do heading into the 2023 season with this offseason? What's the thing that the Jets need to do to improve this team?
It's all about the quarterback right now, because we saw the talent they had this past season, both on offense and defense. Obviously, the rookie class that they were able to put together, winning all the awards that they did, both on a weekly basis and a yearly basis as well, with Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. So I feel like they have a lot of the other positions figured out. It comes back to the quarterback. You know, I liked the little bit of Mike White that I saw, but he's just not shown an ability to stay healthy. So I don't think that you can get back into that position heading into next year, where you're essentially going to head into week 1 with him as the starter. So Woody Johnson's been pretty vocal in the last couple of weeks, even publicly, about adding a veteran. Aaron Rodgers is the hot name. There's a little bit of Derek Carr. So I don't know. When the music stops, I don't know which chair the Jets, who's going to be sitting in the Jet chair. That remains to be seen over the course of the next couple of weeks, but it's got to be some sort of veteran with a track record, with a resume that can come in and stabilize things. Zach Wilson's probably going to be on the roster. They say that they're not giving up on him, but you can't afford, with this roster the way it is and as much talent as they have in this window that they have, an opportunity to get back into the playoffs. And who knows, once you get there, if you can make a run, they need to have some more stability at the quarterback position.
Got to have some more stability at the quarterback position, as you hear from Chris. Now, the Giants, they feel like they have their guy in Daniel Jones, and it's about whether they bring him back along with running back Saquon Barkley. Are those the biggest needs, or do you look at the Giants in terms of the draft? They need to add pieces around those guys as they look forward to next season.
They definitely need to add pieces, but they have to square away Daniel Jones first. I think that's sort of the linchpin to the entire offseason, because it's also about how they decide to bring him back. If it's going to be a long-term contract, that probably gives you a little bit more flexibility as far as their cap situation goes for this offseason heading into next year. If they got to a point where they had to use the franchise tag on him and all of that money is going to be paid in full on the 2023 cap, then it probably limits some of what they can do. And to that extent, it might actually make the Saquon Barkley decision for them. If Daniel Jones is a franchise tag, I don't know exactly how Saquon Barkley fits in as far as financially, when they do have other questions and areas of need that they need to address. Wide receiver, to me, being the most important one outside of the quarterback. You know, you see these teams. The Eagles are a great example. Jalen Hurts took this big step this year. Devontae Smith was there. coming along as a young player. They add A.J. Brown. It makes a huge difference. Not to take anything away from Hurts. His development and his performance was tremendous, especially what he was able to do with his legs throughout the course of the season. But A.J. Brown put up monster numbers for them all year long and was a key player in the Super Bowl as well. So for Daniel Jones to have that type of dynamic weapon at receiver, I think would make this offense look much different. You give them credit for the way that they played this season, sort of making the best of the situation where they didn't have a ton of talent. Kenny Golladay was a disappointment. They had injuries. Sterling Shepard down again. Wan'Dale Robinson, who they drafted, goes down. And we saw the likes of the receivers that they were using late in the season and into the playoffs and making the most of it. But if they want to take that next step, they're going to have to get more dynamic at the receiver position.
Yeah, I think Big Blue fans would agree that to take the next step, that is something that's going to have to happen. Okay, lastly, Chris, when it comes to talking about the Jets and the Giants, and we just finished watching a fantastic Super Bowl, which of the New York teams are closer to winning a Super Bowl? Is it the Jets or is it the Giants? Now, you're going to make one of these fan bases upset.
Of course.
So which team is it?
It should be the Jets, based on the talent as currently constructed and guys that we know for sure are going to be coming back next season. We just outlined all the reasons, right? You feel like they're essentially a quarterback away from being a playoff team and potentially a contender. But until I know who that quarterback's going to be, it's hard for me to put my eggs in that basket. I just saw the Giants get more out of less talent with their coaching staff led by Brian Dable here in this first season, get into the playoffs and not just get there, win a game, obviously. Things didn't go so well against the Eagles after that. But I think the sum of the parts, coaching staff, knowing that Daniel Jones is probably going to be back, the contract situation is to be determined, but we think that it's most likely that they're going to be opening up week 1 with Daniel Jones at quarterback. I already know what he looks like in the Brian Dable offense. Until I know who there's going to be taking that first snap for the Jets under center in week 1, it's hard for me to back them.
Hard for you to back them there. Sorry, Jets fans. Don't be disappointed.
They're used to it. They're used to being disappointed, right?
See, Chris just letting them know that they're used to disappointment.
Keeping it real.
Giants fans are going to be happy with your comments there. That is Chris Lopresti, one of the great contributors for SNY. Chris, thank you for the time. We got to talk some football, some Giants and Jets, and we'll be talking more, I'm sure, as we head to the 2023 unbelievably NFL season. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right.